I'm Tom King, the founder of Toolkit.law. We're joined again by Barrister Arooj Bukhari, by Yousaf Bangash, and by Usama Ahmed. We're here to talk about language issues, and what better country to visit than Pakistan to talk about languages. Having been there myself, I know that some people speak up to 5 languages there. I mean, I used to speak a little bit of French, and my Spanish is okay, but nothing like this. Who's going to first talk about certified court translators?
I am.
Go ahead, please, Aruj.
Yes. And as you just mentioned, in Pakistan, it's a multilingual country. So we have regional languages, and then in those languages, we've got various dialects. So this is a very pertinent question. And also, a lot of refugees, for instance, or immigrants on their way to Pakistan, they do not necessarily would speak Urdu. But that is not really that big of an issue because our official language is also English. As long as you can speak English, you're good to go. But if you cannot speak either Urdu or English, then you would require a translator.
As a as a
So
side comment, law school is taught in English, correct?
yes, it is. Yes,
And
that's
all
the
and all and
Yes.
all judges must be bilingual, at least in English and in Urdu, correct? Because your
yeah,
laws must be published in both languages. English
yeah.
and Urdu. And I mentioned this before that'll surprise some people. Number one country in the world by English speakers, India. Number two, America. Number three, Pakistan, with over 105 million English speakers. And English being I could not believe all the menus and all the advertisements that were 45, 50% of everything I saw was in English. And then the other 50%, I had no idea what I was seeing.
Now
Yes,
we also have greater number of people who speak Urdu and Pashto in British accent. So you can see the colonialism after effects in Pakistan as well.
Oh, and even when we're talking just in English with our development team in Islamabad, different phrases. I mean, you talk about translation. Whenever I say a negative statement, I say, "You don't agree with this, do you?" And they'd say yes, but they actually meant to say no. But in Urdu and in Pashto, you want to say yes to the speaker, but in English, we want you to answer the question. And every time they would say yes, they actually meant no. And that's when we're speaking the same language, Youssef, the same language.
that
So let's
brings me to, yes, that language barrier, right? Even if you are speaking the same language, because every region modifies it. Every, like, American English is not the same as British English. So you have your own specific terms and your ways and mannerisms of speaking a certain language. So they will not necessarily translate with another speaker of the same language. And here, that brings me, to the topic at hand, which is certified coach translators, and especially in the legal framework, you would want to make sure that these problems, they do not arise, these mistakes do not happen, because they're, the other end, there's someone's life or liberty at risk, potentially. So the first thing I'm going to look at are qualifications for trainings, and for the trainer. So not every trainer is made equal, is what I will say. There need to be specific certification processes, and they exist in our country as they were in every different jurisdictions. And a translator, a co-translators, needs to be needs to hold that certification, and needs to demonstrate a knowledge also of the legal procedures, so that they know that what they're translating, how it's going to be used. And it's also important that the translator remains neutral. They do not let their biases creep in. That's very important. And as a lawyer, that is something that you are looking for and looking to safeguard against, because you don't want them to embellish anything. You also do not want them to leave anything that's important out of the testimony, out of the oral evidence when they're translating. So now translating is different from transcribing, and I'll come to that a little bit later on. But at the moment, when we're looking at translating, we need to ensure that the certified translator does not influence the meaning of the client's or witness's words. They do not let their interpretations or their feelings sort of govern how they present that evidence. That is something that you, as a lawyer, need to be mindful of. Another thing, an important aspect of this is that translators, as a matter of right, are not available necessarily in all courts. So you would have to make sure to plan ahead. They are not. Excuse me, there is a shortage of certified court translators because there's the debate of
Yes.
resources and and the need for them. So the need is always greater than the available resources. So in light of that, a prudent lawyer would ensure that they plan ahead and they book their certified court translators in advance. So that's an extra thing that you need to be mindful of. And if the language that they're translating is very not very common, not very commonly spoken, that's another concern that you would have to be mindful of. You would need to find a certified translator, so it might even take longer because might not have a lot of those certified translators for that particular language available. So that's something that would require even more work and planning.
And
And
it would
another
seem to me that when you put together your law office in a country like Pakistan, you got to pick you got to cover like 5 languages. And if you got 6 employees, you want to say, okay, I got you speak 3, you speak 4, you speak 3, you speak 4, and you got to make sure that you got this dialect covered and that, and you probably got at least 1 or 2 languages in common to where you say, okay, do I understand you right in English? And then you go, wait a minute, I don't know if we're okay, let's switch to Urdu. Okay, did I get that right regarding Punjab? All right, or the dialect? And of course, in your country, out in the rural areas, the other dialects take over, right?
Yes, but the beautiful thing about that is that in Pakistan we're multilingual, so not even bilingual. We can speak a lot of regional languages as well, and we can understand it. But when it comes to procedures, you would need understanding at a very high level. Um, uh, Most people here can speak Urdu, which is the national language. So they would speak their regional language, but they would be able to speak the national language, and they would be able to converse in English to an extent. So when it comes to conveying their message to their legal representative, I don't think that is necessarily an issue. However, when they're in court and they're presenting evidence, because
Yes.
there it's very important that the correct meaning of what they're saying is imparted. It would be important to have a translator. You would
And
not, yeah, it's a rarity. It's not something that's done as a matter of routine, though, because
and,
people are able to speak multiple
and
languages.
Usama, I think I shared this with you in a previous recording. When I was in Pakistan for 16 days, staying at my business partners with their family of 15 people, and he was getting married.
Yeah.
And so they'd be talking, and he'd say, okay, now these people understand what we're saying, but these don't. And then they'd switch to another language. He'd say, okay, my mom and dad understand what I'm saying, but my wife doesn't. My new wife doesn't.
Yeah.
And then he'd switch to languages with his friends. He'd go, my friends and I understand what I'm saying, but we don't want my mom and dad to know what we're saying. and, and and I'm like, I couldn't even
Yeah,
tell the
that's
I mean, I lived in France for about 8 months studying French. I lived in Mexico studying Spanish, and I can at least know when I'm hearing French and know when I'm hearing Spanish. I couldn't understand from dialect to language to dialect to language. I couldn't pick up the nuances. And of course, in law, it's about being precise, right, Usama?
yes, yes, exactly. Even full stop or comma matters a lot.
And Pakistan
So
is just
yeah,
a lovely laboratory of that in play, in conflict, and just to experience that for me, I was like, it's hard enough for me, when we're in American court and someone needs a Spanish translator, I can understand half of that, but the judges half the time won't speak that language, and you are relying on the translator. like you said, Arooj. Okay, let's go ahead. We didn't cover everything in your column, but they can read the rest of your column. Let's now go to the second column, okay? As we just keep this fun, as we talk about the soft skill topic of languages, let's talk about dialects. Who's talking now about dialects?
I am. I'm talking about that.
So go ahead and speak loud and close to your microphone. What do you want to share with us, Usama, about dialects?
Okay, so I'm basically a Punjabi. Like Punjabi is a language itself. There are around 8 to 10 different kinds of Punjabi. You know, the accent is different, the words are different, the vocabulary is different. I can speak around eight of them. So
Only
it's very
eight?
easy for me to.
Only eight? Why didn't you study hard in school? Only eight?
No, I can speak 8 different kinds of Punjabi. Punjabi. Then it comes to Urdu. They have different accents in Urdu. As you know, Karachi have a very hard Urdu. They speak a very hard Urdu. Their words are, some of the words are, difficult to understand. Here in Rawalpindi, Islamabad, the Urdu is different. Lahori's Urdu is different. We, Islamabadis make fun of Lahoris because of their Urdu, because they mix Punjabi with Urdu, and they cannot pronounce some of the words like R. They cannot pronounce R. They say their tongue is not designed to say R. And we Islamabadis can speak both that Urdu also. So translators are required in case of some of the dialects, like we have a Punjabi known as Saraiki. That is a Punjabi, but it is not understandable to any person living here in who's born or raised in Islamabad or Rawalpindi. That is something else.
Okay,
So
but
let's come to the topic.
what is code switching?
Code switching. Okay. Many clients speak multiple dialects or switch between, yeah. Like if the Punjabis from the South Punjab, they cannot speak in Urdu clearly. Okay. They start speaking in Punjabi. In the mid sentence, they start Urdu. And some of the words they use in English. And after that, they come back to that Punjabi. So it's a kind of difficult situation over there, what they really want. So in that scenario, we need a translator to, in my office, we are 6 to 7 people, and they all speak different Punjabi. So it helps a lot. One of them understands some of the clients, so it is easier to understand. This is basically code switching, that people switch different languages in one sentence. Here in Pakistan, we don't have certified translators very easily. They are not accessible, or either they charge a lot. So it is bound for us to understand and learn different kinds of dialects. Yeah. Then comes after every the regional language variations, even within the same language. Yes, after every 35 minutes of traveling, the language and accent switches here in Pakistan. Like the sheet says, the same language and regional dialects can differ significantly. So it is very common here in Pakistan that I have, the place here is one of the places near the Rawalpindi Islamabad is known as Gujar Khan. The language is totally different. It is only 20 minutes away from my office, and the people over there, they speak totally different language. But we have a lot of interactions, so we kind of learn everything, their culture too, from them. Then comes urban and rural speech. It is a big difference. The urban people and rural people, they are basically speaking the same language, but with a twist. and some of the words, they mean something different in their language. Understand? So we work really hard to get to them, because many of our clients are not educated, so they don't understand Urdu well. So it becomes sometimes hard to understand what they really want.
Okay, well, they may be uneducated, but they speak 4 languages.
Yes.
I mean, so to call, yes, they may not be traditionally educated, but they're wise
Yes.
in the world, right?
Yes. This is the situation here right now.
Plus, I
The
think
people I've met with, people who've learned.
99.9% of your country reads Arabic, right? And I would think that Arabic terms
Yes,
would
they do.
would
But
come
they
up
don't understand.
in every language.
They can read Arabic, but they cannot understand Arabic. Reading is something else, and understanding that language is something else.
Why would you learn to read it and not learn to speak it if you already speak 3 languages?
So
What Arooj, what am I missing? I mean, if you've already got 3 languages, you've got the ability. In the Quran, you read the Arabic every day. I think you would
No,
turn on.
did
I think you would turn on the Arabic channel and just watch movies and news in Arabic just to pick it up.
Well, to be honest, a lot of people do understand Arabic because the alphabet is the same, so we can read it. Like perhaps you can maybe read French if you understand English, but you might not get the pronunciation right. You might not understand what you're reading, but you can read it. What he means, I suppose, when we say that we read Quran, what we mean by that is we also read it with translation. So we do read it in its original language,
yeah,
which is the Arabic. But then we read the
Oh,
translation. Yes, it could be translated in Urdu, it could be
yeah,
translated in English, and then that makes it
English.
easier. But that's like how you begin. Like as a child, perhaps in your part of the world, for Christians they would read the Bible and they would start teaching their children to read the Bible. So we start with that, and then if the interest develops, we also learn the language. There are people
yeah,
who
but
we can understand bits of it, though,
yeah, but
because of that.
we usually don't read the Old Testament in Hebrew and the New Testament in Greek, right?
Yes,
So
you read
so
through the
that right, so that would be a difference because unless you're a scholar or you're studying the Holy Bible with the Old Testament, which is the Torah, that's originally written in Hebrew and the new one's written in Greek, the New Testament. But here, the texts that are a big part of your culture by default are in Arabic. It just also makes me think of there's courtroom translation and language issues, Usama, and then there's also out in the real world. And I guarantee you in America, we do not think about this topic. We do not think about refugee camp slang. I found this fascinating. I found this
Yeah.
fascinating. Can you go ahead and finish your column starting here, Usama?
Uh, the refugee camp slang, people living in camps. Yeah, the slangs. There are a lot of. Every area has a different slang in every city of Pakistan. Do you understand? There are certain words like here in Pindi, there's a word known as bawa. Bawa, if you translate that into English, that means the old man. But
Bawa.
in the slang, this means a friend.
It means
So
what? It means what?
understanding slang is very important. But the thing is, here in Pakistan, we don't talk in slang when we're in corporate offices. So it's not very, a daily issue here with us. People, they try to talk in a clear language. But the thing is, we need to learn the slang to, understand the clients. I've been with a lot of clients from many different cities. I love to travel So I, go into those areas where the people speak slang, and I love enjoying those words. And I then stop people and ask them, what does this particular word mean? And that's quite fascinating. This is the thing. Then comes assumptions based on accent. Some interpreters make assumptions about the speaker's identity based on accent. This can lead to incorrect translations. Yeah, this is the problem here, that we should not, as a lawyer, we should not make assumptions. Assumptions then lead to false statements. So it is important for us, to understand every language here and every slang here to interpret what the client is trying to say. So this is the thing.
Okay.
Lack of terminology in specific dialects.
Okay. We're now
Certain dialects may lack different.
Yeah, because of time constraints, people can finish the rest of that column on their own. Let's go ahead and talk here. Yousaf, are you covering legal terminology?
Yeah, it's kind of my liability right now. So I will go with the good terminology. So in law, not even in law, but in particular immigration law, uh, one thing is crystal clear, and that is language everything, right? So it's not just how we communicate, it's always how we survive and how we prove our case. Because I purely discuss it from a legal point of view, right? So when it comes to legal jargon, I mean, some legal concepts like burden of proof or withholding of removal or maybe a deferred action. So they do not exist in many other legal systems. So there is no one word equivalent. So interpreter has to go beyond direct translation, and he has to convey the underlying meaning, right? So it's interpretation is not always about vocabulary, or it's like a legal literacy, and it should be very, very, very particular and very, very to the point when you translate something. Then we have second in row, that is training in legal system, which is, I believe, non-negotiable, because certified trainers and certified interpreters, sorry, they should be more than bilingual. I mean, we Pakistani have this talent. We are, I don't know, we are multilingual or what. I mean, we can speak many languages. So we have this kind of, talent. And if someone do want to hire, interpreter, they can hire them from, from Pakistan. So it's the interpreter should be even bicultural. He must be legally informed, and he must have some kind of immigration proceedings. He must be aware of the basic terminology, right? And even their consequences. So, given that, he must also be aware of the different glossary and terminologies, right? Then we have, different alphabet that includes US, CIS, ICE, TPS, and other acronyms. So our immigration systems love its acronym, and they are second nature. But to someone from a village, I mean, who has no internet access, so I mean, this might be as well be a code words from another universe.
Right.
So translator, decipher and explain these type of things. Then we also have this concept that does not exist in their world, because here it gets tricky. I mean, many legal principle we rely on even does not exist in the client's country of origin. I mean, let's say explain something like statutory deadlines to a person living in Afghanistan, right? So this interpretation is very tricky, and it's not just a language issue. It's I would say it's like a conceptual gap here, because translators needs to bridge that gap, right? So there is very, very paramount role of the translators in immigration laws. Then there is this translation error sometimes in the legal documents, so be it affidavits, even the court decision, even the government notices. These must be legally correct, and it must be in their correct meaning. Then we have the interpretation of the court orders. This is one of the minefield because court orders, are dense and it's very technical, and sometimes even for lawyers, even translating that into a language where legal culture is totally different. So it's a Herculean task. And after the judgment or after the order, clients often, come away confused, even misinformed or scared. So then we have this testimony and legal confusion. I mean, sometimes client does not even understand the question. Their answer might harm them, right? And once they did not understand the question, so then judge pick up inconsistency, right? And even lawyer, a cross examiner can exploit this because this confusion and vagueness might lead to misunderstanding as well.
Okay,
So we have
here's an example. You didn't kill him, did you? You would say
exactly.
you would say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would say yes because of the language logic in Urdu, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
And
Right,
the
that's right.
and the judge would
Exactly.
hear him say, "Oh, he just said
Yeah.
yes, I killed him." But in fact, you were agreeing with the speaker when the answer should be, "No, I did not. No, I did
Exactly.
Exactly.
not." But you would say, because you're saying, what you're really saying is, "Yes, I agree with your statement that I
Hmm.
did not kill him."
Yeah.
But when you
Exactly.
say, answer the question yes or no, you did not kill him, did you? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times with my team we laugh. And for a year, I've tried to correct that one language logic hardwiring in their brain using Urdu, right? The way you're wired with your
Hmm.
mother tongue, switching to English, getting them to answer the question, than to say whether or not they agree with the person positing the question, right?
Which is why leading questions are so lethal, I suppose. They can be,
Exactly.
Yeah,
especially,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
you know, that is how a particular sort of people understand it.
Right. Okay. So let's go ahead and finish up this column. What are these last two cells you have for us, Usef?
Okay. So I think I've done with it, and since I have another column as well, and somebody's waiting outside my office for me, so I have to just wind it up the other column. I think I'm just done with the blue one. So now the orange one. So let's come to this one,
Perfect.
and this is a bit
Perfect.
interesting, because this is one of the overlooked and I believe yet critical challenges that arise in the immigration interpretation. And this is the stage. These are the issue where small slips can have big consequences. And when we talk about the immigration cases, so we we focus on the big ticket items like visa categories, what type of visa we have, and if there is any legal issue in the tribunal procedure. But the underlying issues are more sneaky little issues, and that can even makes or breaks cases. So interpretation is that friendly voice in the corner. Now we often assume that interpretation is not straightforward, right? It's not like I speak, they speak, and the problem is solved. It's never that simple. I mean, one misunderstood word in law, I'm not talking about the immigration law specifically, but in generalize, one misunderstood word, and suddenly your client's testimony or maybe timeline is inconsistent, or maybe they are not credible, right? I will now walk you through these issues. The first one is the untrained interpreter. It is, sometimes in the urgent or maybe in the under resource situations, it's very easy for clients or for people to, lean on their friends, family, or someone from their community to interpret. They may seem convenient and they may seem easy, but it's, I believe, very dangerous shortcut because these individual often lack the legal vocabulary, legalese, right? And even a misused word here might lead to a missed entry cases there. So the client whole story gets distorted with single mispronunciation, or I would say misinterpretation. So the second one we have in line is the interpreter conflict of interest. Uh, you know, just imagine, I mean, we Pakistani are so polarized. We do not agree on single thing. So just imagine that your case is basically interpreted by someone from a rival tribe or maybe from a neighbor who knows your backstory too well. This sounds very uncomfortable, right? So interpreter must be impartial. And I just always advise people that you must ask the client if they are comfortable with the assigned interpreter. Even if if you have a hint of tension, opt for someone else. Then third in row we have this again issue of mistranslation of names or location. Then we have this impact on client credibility. I mean, it has one of the damaging effects of interpretation errors on the client credibility. So if our translation makes a timeline and it look inconsistent, or a statement sound contradictory, so it can cast a doubt, and this might have repercussions for the client as well. Then we have non-verbal communication barrier. It includes the tone, even the gesture, silence. Interpreter must be trained to observe, and even he must be able to convey the non-verbal cues, right? The sixth one in row is the emotional and psychological strain. I mean, telling your story to a stranger and you are facing trauma and then watching it all get twisted through a faulty translation. I mean, this is very heart-wrenching. So the emotional
Right.
toll is real here. And then we have time delays due to interpretation. We have documentation, translation delays, because delays in translating, initial documents, for instance, birth certificate, court ruling, police reports, these all can stall a case entirely. So what we need to do right now is at this point is to prioritize key documents. We need flag delays early with the court or tribunal. Then we have ninth in line, that is machine translation. So I
That's
believe
that's
Google
what that's what I wanted
translates
to
to
that's
hell
what I
and
wanted to jump
horrifying.
to. That's what I wanted to jump to because with artificial intelligence, right now you've got Samsung AI on your phone that may or may not do a good live, you know, concurrent translation, real-time translation. You know, if people are using devices to do live translation, you're now dependent on machine language to get it right. And I just got to think when it comes to translation, this is the big next topic, right? Using
Exactly.
artificial intelligence to do
Yeah.
live translation in the court, and did it get it right?
See, we might differ on few points. Like, I believe that Google really translate hilarious and horrifying because in legal settings,
Right.
machine translation, it's more of for a casual preview only. So we cannot rely on it because it sometimes, fail to handle the nuance or legal intricacies, or it
Mhm.
sometimes fail to, to translate the legal phrasing or cultural context. This is something, I mean, very unique to the humans only. And when it comes to immigration law, as I said at the beginning, that language is everything, right? So it's not just how we communicate, it's how we prove our case. And the emotions which are, very unique to the human, so it cannot be achieved by the machine. So yeah, to some extent it might help out people, but solely relying on the machine translation, I mean, this can be a risky, but since we are developing right now, and AI is, uh, doing a really good job, so we might have antidote for it as well.
Great. Usama, I'm going to ask each of you one last comment, then we'll end. If there's something you know today about language translation that you wish you knew when you started to practice law, what do you wish you knew 20 years ago about language challenges that you know today?
I should have talked to a friend 20 years ago. Because, this is the only language I don't understand. And the hardcore Pashto speakers, they don't speak well Urdu. And it's hard to understand them, what they're actually trying to say. So it's good, people when come to me, the Pashtun clients, they bring someone with them to, interpret.
See, for me, now having seen how people struggle and not, never knowing where someone's coming from, I wish I'd known 30 years ago, I'd had compassion for when people are trying to communicate, but they're not doing a good job of communicating. And I give them grace, not to hold them technically to what they said, but what they were trying to say, Aruj, right? Like, you didn't kill him, did you? Yes. You know, do I hold them technically to the answer, or do I look beyond that and realizing that there is imperfection in how we are communicating, not how they are communicating? What do you wish you knew when you started your law practice, either an attitude or a perspective regarding different languages, or just something you wish you'd known back then?
Yes, I think I agree with you in that we need to look at the whole context and where they're coming from in the environment and their lived experience, and that should inform how we interpret their responses. For me, an important thing that I wish I actually learned at a very young age, but yes, it is always reinforced, and it's better to reinforce it and to check yourself. Is that the strength or how well someone speaks a certain language is not a marker of how educated they are. Education is not
Yeah,
just
good.
speaking good English or being able to converse well in a particular language. It comes from many different things, and I've met people who are experts, but they because it's not their mother tongue, and it's not necessarily just Pakistanis. It could be Europeans. It could be. I have a lot of European friends as well, and I speak better English than them. Some of them, just because we grew up in with a certain history, and
Mm-hmm.
so we have a strength that. But that is something that I learned, and I found it very helpful. And I think, yeah, as you said, showing people grace and also accepting that they are better in their mother language, and you can't compare your strength in your mother tongue to other people's strength in a foreign tongue. So it wouldn't be fair. And to show grace and to make accommodate that in a way so that we are able to have that connection and still have a good conversation despite any differences.
Okay, that concludes our presentation on language issues. And to all of you who participated today, I say shukriya.
Thank you. Most welcome to
Oh, thank you so much.
you.
Thank you. And this concludes the presentation.